Alright, so the long-awaited October showcase for Resident Evil has occurred. They focused exclusively on Resident Evil Village and Resident Evil 4. So let's go ahead and steamroll through Village so we can get to RE4, which looks phenomenal. So the showcase starts off with a narration from the Duke. He's taking us on a tour of this really creepy looking library study area, and we start off with Village. So Village is going to be taking place in a place called the Realm of Consciousness, which allows Rose to go back to that village environment since, spoiler alert, it was destroyed at the end of RE8. And speaking of Rose, she's 16 years old in this DLC. And the fun fact here, she's no longer aging at an accelerated rate. So we all kind of assume like, oh, she's 16. That must mean that this DLC is taking place, maybe a few years after Village. But it looks like that acceleration has stopped and she's now aging at a normal rate. So this is taking place in the future. So our heroes are getting older. Chris Redfield is probably in his 50s by now. Leon maybe mid to late 40s. It's really cool to see a game series that lets their characters actually age. Capcom's been really good about that lately, especially with the Street Fighter franchise. The director mentioned that he wanted fear to be the core of this DLC, that feeling you had as a kid where you experienced something that was so terrifying, even if it lasted for just a second. That fear is what he wants to permeate throughout this DLC, and it does look pretty spooky. They made some balance changes to Mercenaries mode, so things like enemies who aren't fully dead will actually chase you. This is to help increase the pacing of the mode. A lot of times if you play through Mercenaries, you could kind of drag your feet looking for enemies to kill, but now they will actually come to you. The inclusion of people like Chris and Heisenberg and the very voluptuous Lady D were added to make Mercenaries more fun. They wanted characters who were larger than life, who had these really cool movesets that would make playing through Mercenaries a much more fun experience. Because when you're playing through as Ethan, he's a cool dude, but you're kind of relying on just like standard weapons here and there, and to play as a, 9 feet tall woman is going to be a fantasy for a lot of people. Speaking of Ethan, the third person mode was added so that way more people could experience this game. He mentioned that a lot of people had experienced motion sickness with first person shooters. A lot of people were maybe a little too afraid to play first person because your view is restricted so much. So they added that third person to allow more people to experience this game. And there is going to be a free demo of the third person mode in Village released today. It's going to be a 60-minute timed demo, but it is free and available on all platforms. Now, the last thing they showed for Village, which looks crazy different, is Reverse. They ditched that really weird cel-shaded filter that the original game had, and it no longer looks butt ugly anymore. It actually looks more in line with what we saw with the RE remakes, RE2 and 3 in particular. There's even some maps from Village on there. It looked like there was a map from Biohazard 7 on there, which is pretty cool. And gameplay-wise, that also looks more in tune with what we see in the remakes. So the over-the-shoulder stuff, the gameplay just looks like it's going to play a lot better than what we saw in that previous build of the game. So Reverse is going to be free for everyone who currently owns Village, and those who buy Village in the future will also get Reverse as a free add-on as well. I believe the early access for Reverse starts on the 24th of October, and they're going to be supporting the game with at least 4 full updates with enemies and characters and whatnot, so that's pretty cool to see them turn a corner on Reverse. Now, to get to the reason why everyone is here, that is Resident Evil frickin' 4, and oh my god, this game looks spooky. It looks amazing. Graphically, this might be the best looking RE game to date. In terms of the lighting and the atmosphere, they're really going for that more scary kind of vibe compared to the previous RE4. And spoiler alert, I did learn something from the IGN playthrough. Skip ahead to the time code on the screen if you don't want anything spoiled for you. But unfortunately, at the beginning of this version of RE4, the dog you come across is dead. You can no longer save the dog from the trap. The dog has been killed, which is kind of setting the tone going forward that this is going to be RE4, but it's going to be much darker and more brutal. So as I said before, visually it looks very spooky, and it looks like they're going to expand upon certain areas. So Leon going to that first house, he's no longer just going in and having a fight. He's going in and he's exploring. He heads to that basement and he finds one of the dead officers lying on the ground. He tries to communicate with the other officers on the radio, but it's not getting through. He ends up going up and talking to Hunnigan, who looks gorgeous, by the way, and he's basically relaying information to her. And it kind of looks like they got rid of that codex section from the original RE4, and all of this stuff is just now going to be taking place via cutscene. So as far as the HUD goes, it looks very clean. You got your ammo count, your health count, and you've got a durability bar for Leon's knife, which we will get to in just a second. It looks like they're adding stealth mechanics as well. There are moments where Leon is able to crouch and hide from enemies, which is really cool. And now we get to the fighting, the gameplay. We see OG classic RE4 gameplay where you're shooting enemies in the face or in the kneecap, and then you're gonna roundhouse kick them in the face. We see that in this video. Leon goes for the face on one of the Ganados and just roundhouse kicks her and another guy, and they go flying backwards. And another thing too, Leon's snarky action hero kind of thing is still intact. There's a spot where he shoots a lantern, it falls to the ground and starts a fire, and Leon literally just tells them,
"Kill me for the repairs later."
Yes, this is going to be darker and scarier, but Leon is still going to have those moments where he's that snarky hero that we all know and love. So that's really cool that that's still there to a degree. One of the coolest things they've added to the gameplay is a parry system. Leon can now parry and block attacks with his knife. I'm getting Ghost of Tsushima vibes with this parry system. We see Leon parry a pitchfork enemy, and we even see him parry and block a chainsaw Ganado, which actually stuns the Ganado for a second. His weapon, his chainsaw, will stop working if you can land a successful block on him. There's even ground stabs, so if you knock an enemy to the ground or you flip them over, you can then go in and L1 them in the neck. You know, there's the attacks from Resident Evil 2 and 3 where if an enemy grabs you, you can use your knife to stab them to break free. Enemies can even grab you from behind and hold you for another Ganado to come up and slice you and try to kill you. Ganados will even destroy parts of the environment to block your path as you are running away. So there's really no safe areas in this game anymore. You are 100% under pressure all of the time, which is great. And even just watching the footage, there is such a tension to the gameplay that I didn't feel with the original RE4. Obviously, OG RE4 had tense moments and it was like, oh my god, I'm being swarmed. But this one just feels so much heavier and thicker with that fear of these enemies are everywhere. They can grab you, they can block you from going to certain areas. It's just, it looks freaky, and Leon looks like he controls a little heavier, but it all looks like a good kind of weight has been added to the gameplay. We do get that attaché case, and we see the merchant as well. He's his good old-fashioned what are you buying kind of merchant, so he's still there. He's got, obviously you can buy stuff from him. You can even do trades now. There's a new trade system where all those treasures and jewels and whatnot that you find on your journey, instead of trading them to the merchant for money, you can actually trade them for items now. And it'd be kind of cool if maybe you can trade them not just for weapons, but imagine trading for like some sort of combat book which grants Leon a new melee attack or some sort of dodge mechanic. That would be really awesome. So I'm excited to kind of see them expand on that more in the future. They even also added some crafting when it came to the ammo. Now, for those of you who have a PS4 and want to upgrade to the PlayStation 5 version, Capcom has made that free. Thank you, Capcom, for doing this. They've done this for a few of their games within the past couple of years now. So if you want to upgrade from the PS4 to the PS5 version of the game, it's going to be 100% free, no extra charge. So you're going to be saving some money in that area. And of course, there's going to be deluxe editions, collector's editions with figurines, maps, physical soundtracks. If you pre-order the game through the PlayStation Plus store, you actually get a digital mini soundtrack, which is really cool. And then there's going to be bonus items like charms that you can equip on Leon, different skins for the attaché cases, like a gold and original attaché case skin. They're doing everything right with RE4 so far. This really feels like they're staying 100% faithful to the story of RE4, which they did mention they want to do, but they're taking some liberties here and there. I don't think it's going to be a situation like RE2 or RE3 where they took a lot more liberties with the story. I think the story is going to remain more intact with this go around with RE4, but the gameplay updates, everything is modernized in the best possible way. and it just looks amazing. And then of course they ended with a brand new trailer for RE4. In that trailer we see Leon meeting Ashley for the first time and saving her. We see Luis, we see Ada's gorgeous ass. She's such a beautiful woman. I don't even know who they based her off of, but this girl is gorgeous. We see the El Gigante for the first time, that ugly troll face. We see Ashley at the very end get infected and point a gun at Leon. And of course, we see all of our classic enemies. Lord Sadler is there. Salazar's tiny ass is there, along with his bodyguards. So there are still elements of RE4 that are there and intact. So it's going to be really cool to see how much of this game is a remake and how much is a reimagining. What liberties did they take? But based on some of the interviews, it really sounds like they want to keep it as faithful to OG RE4 as possible. Either way, this is super exciting. This video is very long, but that is pretty much the video. Please leave any of your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. What did you think of this showcase? Are you excited about the Village stuff, which looks great? RE-verse, Reverse actually looks kind of cool now, and RE4 just looks absolutely phenomenal. We might actually be approaching a situation where RE4 Remake is now the best Resident Evil game, much like OG RE4 was back in the day. And I'm just really excited. I hope that within the coming months they do release a demo, much like they did with previous Resident Evil games releasing demos. I'm hoping we get one for RE4 within the next few months as well. Also, if you're somebody who came from my Resident Evil Showcase preview video, thank you. You guys got that video to over 1,000 views in less than 12 hours and over 2,500 views in less than 48 hours. And you guys clicked the like button, some of you subscribed, a lot of you left comments, which really helps me out a lot. So if you guys like what I talk about, I cover Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, basically Capcom and Square Enix stuff, and some random video game news here and there. Go ahead and click the like button, subscribe, or bookmark my page, and come back. You might like what you hear. So I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.